All right, let's go back to our story on the Suleja Correctional Center. Joining me live on Zoom, of course, is Mr. Chidi. Mr. Chidi, can you hear me now?
Loud and clear, yeah. Morning.
Okay, so Mr. Chidi, if you can hear me, let's begin with what you think will likely be the potential of getting the remaining 106 escapees back. How do you think that can happen?
I don't know if you are here.
I can't hear with them. Can you hear me?
Reaction. Yeah. What's happening?
Okay, so I was saying that, Mr. Chidi, if you can hear me, how do we, get back these 160 inmates back to the Suleja Correctional Center?
Okay, fine. I was just trying to say. By the way, are you hearing me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Very well, then. I was saying that the first step we ought to have taken was to put out the pictures and profiles of those, prisoners who let loose on display, public display, so to enable Nigerians be able to help out. But that should have been that ought to be the right thing to do. But that never happened. As far as I'm concerned now, there's nothing you expect the average man on the street to do to help out, because they don't know who are these guys on the loose. So talking about the prospects are there if we put our intelligence assets, to use. So the guys who work in the correctional facility, aided by probably the DSS and police, police should be able to identify them. But I think that the mistake has already been made. The next 24 hours, we ought to have had the pictures and profiles of these guys on display. That assuming we actually had the right data. So this calls to question: do we really have, profiles of our inmates? Do we have the data on our hands, so that when things like this happen, should be able to know who you are declaring wanted? So that's my initial response.
Okay, there are calls, especially from residents relocating the medium security correctional center to another location. Is this a good idea? What's your take on that?
Pardon me, the network was playing out. What did you say? I didn't get to hear the last one.
Okay, so I was saying that there are calls from residents of that particular location, in Suleja, that the correctional center should be relocated. Do you think that's a good idea? Okay. If you can hear me, Mr. Chidi, I'm saying that there are calls from the residents of that area calling for the relocation of the Suleja Correctional Center. Do you think that this is a good idea?
Can you hear me? Goodness me.
Okay, so can you hear me now?
No, yes, I can hear you now.
Okay, so I was saying that there are calls from the residents of that particular location, I mean in Suleja, saying that the correctional center should be relocated. Do you think this is a good idea?
Yes, I agree with them. And I was trying to say that, indeed, not just the Suleja prison, there are a number of prisons across the country that are actually, situated where they ought not to be. Take, for instance, the Enugu prisons. Do you know that that particular prison is situated right at the heart of the city? So the people living in Suleja, they know what they are talking about. The prison, where it is in Suleja, is not the right place for it to be. I don't know why it is difficult for us to, do the right thing and when we ought to do. The number of prisons, ought to be shifted inside, away from the center of the town to enable, the security guys be able to take control of situations. But when you situate such, critical security infrastructure in the middle of the city or middle of the town, you make it prone to all manner of infractions. So I agree with the people who say there's a need for them to shift the location. Yeah.
Okay, let's look at the security implication, of having inmates walk around in the midst of people, going around just doing normal daily activities. What do you think is the danger in these, just going around, moving freely, when they are supposed to be back to the correctional center?
The danger is enormous. I mean, they are in prison, for goodness sake. They are inmates. They ought to be isolated from society. They ought to be, put in a way that they understand exactly what they are where they are. You do not put prisoners to be mingling with the outer society. I mean, you are creating security problems for those managing it. You are even creating problems for the people in the outside the walls. So I don't think it's the right thing to do. We should be able to, do what other people are doing in other clients. We are not. We shouldn't be, lagging behind in every sectors of our life. It's not proper. Just like seeing military barracks, within the borders of the cities. They ought to be, isolated somehow, be away from so you don't have such a possibility of, them being subsumed by the foibles of the society. So I don't think it's the right thing to do to have those guys mingling, with the people in the free society. They are prisoners, by the way. They are convicted. They got to be they got to do the time. Yeah.
Over time, there's been the need to restructure and, of course, renovate and even decongest correctional centers across the country. Do you think this is possible, and how do you feel the government can approach this particular matter, which is very, very germane at this particular point in time?
First of all, we got to understand that prisons is at the heart of the entire security architecture of any country. We're talking about a facility a holding facility. Every security agency have one thing or the other to do with the prison, because whoever have infracted the law will end up in the prisons, except the one we are going to say we are going to kill. So any convicted prison, anyone who's meant to do the time, got it to do with the prisons. So we need to take particular interest in our prisons. Every now and then you see gory pictures of inmates. We need to really take a look at that, so that at the end of the day it will be reformatory, not just punitive. People need to be able to see our prisons helping out the inmates, so that when they come back better persons, not come back looking like animals, and then much more desperate, much more more villainous than they were before they went in there. So there's a need for us to put our mouth to that. There's a need for us to put our resources down to make sure that we take a look at that. Because, like I said, prisons are the heart of our security infrastructure, and we must take care of it. We must put attention to it. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chidi. Thank you much for joining us on the show. And, of course, it's a conversation that needs to continue, and we just hope the government can be able to do the right thing by renovating and reconstructing some of these correctional centers. Thank you for joining us on the show.
I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you. I appreciate that.
The National